Good afternoon, gentlemen of the press. My ministry presented two memos to Council today. The first memo was for Council to approve the repeal of the Produce Enforcement of Standards Act of 2004 and for the approval of the enactment of the Federal Produce Inspection Service Bill 2022. The justification for the memo is hinged primarily on the need to have an all-encompassing produce inspection regime in Nigeria that is capable of ensuring best practices in the export of agro-produce from Nigeria. The proposed bill seeks to correct the shortcomings in the law, the previous law. For instance, the organizational structure, the penalties under the old law, produce to which the law applies, which has increased to 72 from 16, the location covered by emergency orders for pest control in the event of an outbreak. The old law covered only Lagos, but now the new bill will cover the whole country. The new law also makes provision for establishment of laboratories in 5 geopolitical zones in the country, in addition to the one that presently exists in Lagos, for the analysis, for microbial analysis of the produce, of agro-produce, for local consumption and for export. The whole essence of this new bill is to bring the practice of inspection of foodstuff to global practice, to improve it to current global practices. The old law, the original law was, enacted in 1950, and then it was renewed in 2004. And we believe that it is time for it to be brought up to date, and that is what we have done. And Council approved that it's approved it, and it will be passed on to the National Assembly. Council directed that the Attorney General and Minister of Justice transmit it to the National Assembly. The second memo that we brought was for Council to approve the award of contracts for consultancy services for the pre-development of the Funtua Integrated Textile and Garment Park in Katsina State, and for the Medical Tourism Park in Lekki Special Economic Zone in Lagos State, in a total sum of about 1.4 billion naira to Messrs. Tata Consulting Engineers in partnership with Messrs. Abbey Grant Limited. The Textile and Garment Park in Funtua, Katsina State, and the Medical Tourism Park in Lekki, Lagos State are special economic zones under the management of the Nigerian Export Processing Zones Authority. And the idea is to provide first-class infrastructure for the infrastructural development to these special economic zones so that foreign companies and institutions, including local companies and institutions as well, will come and set up medical institutions in the tourism park in Lekki, and also for foreign companies to set up textile and garment parks in Funtua. The scope of works includes the consultancy services for the engineering and infrastructure design for Funtua, consultancy services for the master plan and architectural design of Funtua as well, and consultancy service for master plan and architectural design of the medical tourism park in Lekki. And all the contracts, the contracts are for a completion period of 24 weeks. Thank you very much.
The Ministry of Labour and Employment presented two memos today to Council. The first memo was presented on behalf of our parastatal, the Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund, NSITF. As you all are aware, a lot has happened in NSITF in terms of revenue losses and pillage of funds that have been given to that organization. The NSITF implements the Employee Compensation Act, ECA 2010. And by that act, employers in both the public and private sector, as opposed to pay 1% of the emolument of their staff into a special fund in NSITF. And this fund is to be used as a premium or insurance fund to cater for workers or staff members who have accidents, injuries, disabilities, and even deaths that occur in the course of their work. So it's like an accident injury insurance. The Pension Act makes reference to it, that it must be done for workers in addition to the group life. So the monies that have gone in there have not been properly utilized. The money has not even been tracked. The payments have not been tracked. So today we brought to council a memo for an e-NSITF by which the operations will now be digitalized. Both the payments that are put in from any of their stations, they have 56 branches and 11 regional offices. So in the comfort of your office, you can pay, and it registered in that platform, and that money is now tracked into a central pool. From the central pool, if claims are made and payments are also made out to the insurers or those who are beneficiaries, you also track them. So this is one of the things the government has done in the spirit of digitalization of the economy and our businesses, ease of doing business for everybody. So this will make for efficiency and help the organization to grow in leaps and bounds. Already the organization is revitalized following the present restructuring arrangement for them. Today, NSITF can pay all their salaries. They can boast of even doing capital projects. And this one is part of the capital projects they are doing, the digitalization of the funds operation. And like I said earlier, the accountability that is there will make for non-leakages of the funds that are put in there. And also, we also know that in the former times, there have been complaints of people's claim not being paid. No, this NSITF will track claims and allow people to know who benefits from those claims. So this is one of the memos presented today in council. A consultant is going to handle it. Council approved that the digitalization should be completed in 8 weeks. So that's the first phase of the suit, the e-suit of NSITF. The second memo has to do with employment, job creation. It's a portal called NEFLEX. NEFLEX portal. This is Nigerian Labor Exchange portal, NELEX. It's housed in my ministry. But over time, because it has not been redeveloped, the portal is so small, it cannot take stress of the number of people wanting to go into it. That digital platform is supposed to be used by employers on one hand and job seekers. The employers will come in and load the vacancies they have, the type of skill they want, the qualifications of people that can fit in there. Then the job seekers, those who are looking for job, graduates, non-graduates, you come in also, you register. Put in your qualification, put in your skill and what you can do, and then the two people are matched. The two groups are matched. The employer can speak to a job seeker via that platform. It's called NELEX. So over the years, we have not been able to expand it. But under a bilateral, multilateral arrangement now, the funds have been provided. So we're redesigning it, remodeling it, and then upgrading the infrastructure. Council approved that a consultant also do that. The period is 12 weeks. And with that, we have passed the first stage of digitalizing that particular platform. And one of the good things about that platform now is that when it becomes operational, all those phony platform that asks people to come and register for work, pay in 1,000 naira or 20,000 naira, they will become a thing of the past, because this will be a government platform. And when you go there, you know it's a genuine platform. Apart from doing that, people in diaspora can also load and come in there with their expertise and tell us in Nigeria what they have that qualify them for special jobs. And if the employers in Nigeria that need them, again, there will be a handshake through the same portal. So these are the two memos presented to Council today. The digital platforms and in consonance with our government policy to digitalize most of our activities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm standing for the Honorable Ministers of FCT and the Minister. So, I'm standing for the Honorable Ministers of FCT and Works and Housing. The Honorable Minister of the FCT got his memo seeking for approval of the upward review of the contract for the construction of two number 15 MVA, to 3 by 15 MVA, that is 3 by 11 kV injection substations at Life Camp, Gwarimpa in Abuja. In 2015, Council approved a contract to supply to numbers 15 MVA by 33 11 kV injection substations to improve the power supply in Gwarimpa. Regrettably, for more than 2 years, the contractors could not access the site due to ownership tussle of the land. By the time they were able to access the land and the site, prices went up, dollar appreciated, and this is why they had to come back. They came back in 2018, and they're coming back today to say that given the population of Gwarimpa now, they need not 2, but actually 3, MVA injection substations. And that contract was approved today for the sum of 1,640,406,426 naira 26 kobo. It's revising the contract sum by about 1,112,000,000 now 3,000. Originally it was at 527 million. The second, then the Honorable Minister of Works and Housing also brought 2 memos. The 2 of them were also approved. The first is the memo by the Minister seeking Council's approval for the revised estimated total cost of the award of contract for the rehabilitation of the Yola Hong Mubi Road in Adamawa State for the sum of 29,826,708,000, thereby revising the initial contract from the original 21,841,578,000 to 51,668,287,000. The contract was awarded to Mrs. AC Vision Construction Limited, and it has an additional 24 months for completion. Of course, once again, the revised estimate had to come in because of the paucity of funds to execute the original contract when it was awarded, and the fact that because of the paucity of funds, the contractor could not continue. This is one of the contracts that is going to be financed by the Sukuk bond. The last memo by the Honorable Minister of Works and Housing was his memo seeking Council's approval for the reimbursement of the funds of certified and recommended for refund for the Yobe State government. You recall that when the administration came in, many states made demand and request that under the previous administrations, they undertook construction of roads and bridges, which were supposed to be federal government roads and bridges, and they actually asked federal government to reimburse them. Upon which the federal government set up an interministerial committee made up of ministries of works and housing, transport, education, and the like, and they came up with recommendations. And I think it's important to say that while it's true that we're just reporting this particular memo, which is the refund being sought by Yobe State government, Yobe State government is asking for the sum of 18 billion 663 million 843,109 naira as reimbursement for 5 federal roads which they rehabilitated or conducted. A committee, as usual, was set up to inspect the claim. They were actually found to be true. They were reviewed, and from the 20 billion they asked for, and certified 18 billion naira as refund due to Yobe State for undertaking the construction and rehabilitation of these federal roads on behalf of the federal government. But this is not the first time. We have, since 2015, made refunds to about 24 states, my records are correct. And I want to put it on record here that both but for the benevolence of this administration, many states would have sunk under. You remember that by the time we came in, about 27 states of the Federation were unable to pay salaries. The old salaries, and they were, they could not pay. It took this federal government to really bail them out so they could not only pay salaries, but also they could pay their arrears. And when the price of crude crashed, this same government gave each state what is called a bailout. And some of the states today that complain that they've never benefited from the federal government, especially the PDP states, are the ones that have taken the lion's share of this reimbursement. Because the records I have here say that Akwa Ibom got a refund of 61 billion naira from this federal government for works they undertook on behalf of the federal government administration before we came in. Rivers had upward of 100 billion naira. But which shows that for this administration, it does not matter whether you are PDP or you are APC or you are Labour or you are APGA, this administration looks at you as a Nigerian, and when largesses are being distributed, it does not favor you just because you are from APC state or you are from a friendly state. By the first tranche of these reimbursements, about 477 billion was refunded to many states. Edo got 8 billion. Lagos got 106 billion. Niger 333 million. Ogun 37 billion. Delta 56 billion. Ebonyi 10 billion. Enugu 12 billion. Jigawa 10 billion. Ekiti 10 billion. And this was just the first tranche. Second tranche, and we're in the last tranche. And I think, if I remember, I think it's Yobe and 2 other states that are supposed to be the next batch. We have Yobe, which was brought in today. They are getting their own 18 billion for work that they undertook on behalf of the federal government. So I thank you very much.
With regards to the question on the free trade zones, especially with regards to Calabar and Kano trade zones, the position we're at the moment is government has recognized the fact that it does not have adequate resources to provide all the infrastructure necessary in these zones. So we have decided to concession these zones. We have advertised for the concessioning of Kano and Calabar. We are in the process. And the whole idea is to get the private sector to come in and partner with government, take over the management, continue with the infrastructural development that government has done, lease the place from government so that government will earn revenue from the leaseholds of the 2 economic zones. What government is doing by setting up the special economic zones right now is that we are, as it were, in a position whereby we will start the process with a view to concessioning to the private sector to take over as we go along. And that is the position that we're at right now. Thank you very much.
Vanguard Chief, the Ministry of Labor and Employment, our role in trade disputes as enunciated in the Trade Disputes Act, and that is to conciliate. And in doing that, we can appoint an outside arbitrator and pay. We can conciliate inside there, and I will appoint whoever, the director in charge of Trade Union Services, the permanent secretary, or my Minister of State, or myself. But I have always decided to conciliate it by myself because I have better grasps of the situation, in that I have stayed in the ministry for about 7 years now. So I'm even older on the beat than even my Director of Trade Union Services, not to talk about the permanent secretary and even my Minister of State. So our role is to arbitrate. We don't take sides. Even if it's government side that is wrong, we will now tell them and ask them to go and do X, Y, Z and come back. Government. If it is the trade unions that are making over demand, we also tell them and find the middle of the road for both the employer and the employee. And that is what we adopt. And if you go down memory lane, you see that we have conciliated a lot of disputes, about 3,000 plus in my ministry, and they were successfully done. Very few cases were referred out as in that particular law, to the Industrial Arbitration Panel, which is another organ of dispute resolution. Or the law also permits me by Section 14 that I can transmit it direct sumo to National Industrial Court of Nigeria, NICN, when I feel, in my own opinion, that the parties to the dispute do not want to conciliate, or one has refused my conciliation, and then I'm forced to do so. So to answer your question directly now, some of the questions, because you're a labor correspondent, you know the answer. ASUU went on a strike by 14th of February, which people call Valentine's Day, Lover's Day. By 21st, I've cut short my trip to an African session now conference holding in Botswana to come back. And we held a conciliation meeting on the 21st of February with their employers, the Ministry of Education and the National Universities Commission. When the issues bordered on money, remunerations, welfare, we did another conciliation meeting inviting Ministry of Finance, Budget Office of the Federation, National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission, and again with their employers on the 1st of March. After that, it became clear that two cardinal things were sticking out like sore thumb. The issue of renegotiation of their package, welfare package, as in the 2009 agreement. That agreement says you can review every 5 years. So that issue stuck out like a sore thumb. Then another issue arose that is not in that agreement on the payment platform of University Transparency Accounting Solution, which they say they have invented. They say they don't want to be on IPs, that IPs was amputating their salaries and taking off certain allowances, and so that it is not capturing their peculiarities. So two agencies are involved. The employer, direct employer, and the University Council on one side, salaries, incomes and wages, and finance, because the remuneration, the welfare package you are talking about involves more fund. That's on the side of government. Two big agencies or broad agencies are involved. There is also on the payment platform, Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy, and their parastatal, the NIDA, Information Technology Development Agency, which approves every new portal or any digital appliance or platform we want to use in Nigeria now, especially in public service. So NIDA was has undertaken to look at that platform and see if that platform can be useful and beneficial to government. No employee or worker can dictate to his employer how he or she will be paid. It's in the ILO principles at work. But government gave this privilege in consonant with Executive Order 3 and 5 for local content development. And I support it. So NIDA on their own was doing their test. And when NIDA gave their preliminary results, they said acceptance, user acceptance was the one that had a pass. But that the whole thing is a total package of vulnerability and stress test. Vulnerability, whether this platform or this system can be hacked into without difficulty or with difficulty. Stress, how many people can it carry? What is quantum of traffic it can carry? So these are the tests that are left for them. So we now had to ask them to go back to these places, form committees with them. Education, took them on the issue of 2009 agreement, which is renegotiation of their condition of service in the main, emolument, their remuneration, allowances. Therefore, salaries, incomes, and wages, Ministry of Finance that produces the money are involved. So they went back. So that's where they are. We called what we call tripartite plus meeting based on presidential directive that the chief of staff, myself, finance, education, find a solution. That meeting held in the banquet hall. The labor correspondents, you were all there. And we gave an instruction again for them to go back and come back with timeline. So as I speak to you, as the arbitrator or conciliator in chief, I have not gotten back any of the reports from education, from salaries, incomes, and wages, nor from ASUU, because they're also supposed to report to me if there is anything untoward going on. I have not gotten any report. So, but on the government side, we are calling up a meeting tomorrow so that everybody in government side can report if he or she has a problem, so we know how to address it. So it is not true that nobody is talking to us, as this chief labor correspondent have alluded to. It's totally wrong. He knows we are talking to us. He also knows that other unions are accusing us of preferential treatment, and I'm happy he said so by himself. This is because these other unions have also claimed that they have developed their own payment platform and that they will not use UTAS, even if UTAS is good. And they have put it down in writing and say they have developed their own platform. So what government has done at the last meeting was to say, neither test the 3 platforms and rate all of them and give us back a report. Their term expired last Friday, the time they were given. That's why we are calling them all up to come tomorrow and brief us. So from your question even, you can see that the situation, like the Minister of Information told you 2 weeks ago or so, is very complex. But we are navigating it. We are taking it step by step so that we don't ruffle feathers. We are interested in our children going back to school. And if ASUU and other unions in the university system want to comply with the labor laws of the country, the land, once I have apprehended a dispute and brought it to my table, you return to what is called status quo ante bellum. You go back from war and start teaching your students while this is work in progress. So even as they have abandoned their jobs, all of them, and the children are at home, discussions and work is still going on. It's work in progress. So they should have stayed back to work while we are doing all this. So this is the situation with the ASUU and other union palaver. We are not giving any preferential treatment to anybody. The remuneration being looked at, if government decide to up, which they will do, which government is ready to do, if we decide to raise their packages, it will be holistically done for the university unions because they're all in the same environment. And we know also that once you do it in universities, the polytechnics will come. We also know that the colleges of education will come. They're all educational sector. And once you finish with the educational sector, we also know that the health system will come. So it's complex, like he said. And so we are not afraid of handling it because government will do the needful. They have to do within the available resources they have. But for me, as conciliator, I will sit there. If government does the one that is not proper and not very good, I will say. If the unions don't do the one that is also not good, I will tell them. So I'm friend to nobody. I'm not friend of government and I'm friend of the unions. But I like it that way. No, let me finish now. The portal management committee will manage the portal. Somebody asked that. There will be a management committee, and the consultant will still be there for the portal. And the costs for the portal and management and the solutions, the upgrade and everything they're putting in there, whatever, for NSITF, NSITF is 1.2 billion. That's, I think I've finished. So you follow up, but be brief so that we can. Sorry? Yeah. It will be resolved, and very soon. It will be resolved, and very soon. When it will be resolved is that it's the same pattern with that of the health sector, where we have NMA, NARD, JOHESU, all the health allied unions on one side, the doctors on the other side. It's the same picture. You come here, you have lecturers, teachers in the university system under ASUU on one side. You have SANU, Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities. You have NASU, non-academic staff. You have NAAT, National Association of Technologists, academic technologists, on one side. There's rivalry. If you pretend there's no rivalry, it's a lie. Everybody knows there's a rivalry. So by next period, we're going to again bring them together, and what government offers to them will be given to them, will be shown to them, for them to go back to the individual unions. And with that, we'll solve it. That's how we solve the other one, so that we handle it holistically, not in pockets anymore. Thank you. It's already, I told you it's been renegotiated. The education set up Professor Briggs' committee to look at it and advise education. Education, that's the people that are advising. Then education will bring it to a government committee. And the process is on already. Education has given to salaries, incomes, and wages, and finance and budget office what ASUU demanded. And they have also asked the government side to give them what they can do in what is called counter offer in a CBA. So they will see the counter offer. It's negotiation. Negotiation based on ability to pay by the employer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think somebody asked a question as to that the federal government banned states from taking foreign loans. Is that correct? And whether they are complying.
Federal rules, rehabilitation. These ones were done.
Yeah. These ones were done before this administration came. It was actually as a result of these reforms we were making that we said, look, henceforth, you cannot take
on
your own federal responsibilities. Now, the question as to how much Rivers and Akwa Ibom got, I don't have Rivers. I think it's in the second batch, but I have
about 30 billion Rivers.
No, it's more than that. But I can tell you authoritatively that Akwa Ibom received 61 billion, 643 million, 106,971 naira. And please, you see, I think this is a good opportunity to also let you know exactly what the federal government has done between 2015 and today to ensure that states stay afloat. And honestly, without the federal government bailing out, most states would have gone under. Like I said, apart from these, reforms that were made, I said earlier on that when we came in, 27 states could not pay salaries. And federal government had to bail those 27 states out. Not only did they give them the money to pay salaries, also gave them bailout to pay arrears.
Sorry, I need to gain clarity on this. Are they bailout or refunds?
No, refunds are completely different. Refunds are when you refund for jobs that were done on behalf of the federal government. That was the first one that we spoke about. And we're speaking about that because Yobe just completed his own. But before then, I have here phase 1 of 24 states that were refunded for work they did on behalf of the federal government even before we came in. These claims were not based on what they did on our behalf, but what they did in previous administrations. Number 2, I now said about when we came in, whereas 27 states could not pay salaries, so we built them out to be able to pay salaries and pay their arrears. Now, in addition, we found out also that the states were in difficulty and they could not start any work in terms of infrastructure, and federal government gave each of them 10 billion naira. When the price of oil again collapsed and states were in trouble, federal government again gave a bailout of 1 billion naira per month to each state for 8 months and 800 million naira per month per state for another 8 months, and the records are there. When also the states complained that they did not benefit from the Paris debt refund, the federal government again gave states their own share of Paris fund. And I can know that Jigawa State in particular received 40 billion naira of this Paris Club refund. If next time I come, I will give you what every state received in terms of Paris Club. Again, when states complained that federal government was deducting what they owed federal government, Mr. President also said they should be refunded because times were hard. I've said this to let you understand that in spite of what some states are saying about federal government, many of them would have gone under without this government, because there's no constitutional duty on the part of the federal government to do what we are doing. And only last week, Lagos State government came to Federal Executive Council with a memo asking for us to convert the Lagos State Lekki Concession Company loan to a sovereign guarantee. And what that means effectively is that Lagos State government could no longer bear the burden of paying for the loan they took to construct Lekki. So federal government accepted. By doing so, now they are giving a longer term to pay the loan and smaller, and a lower interest. So that's one of the things the federal government has been doing to ensure that there's stability and everybody is happy, irrespective of whether you are APC or PDP. Thank you very much.